think I said to you like, oh, this could be a podcast.
Using that pathway to get into spirituality,
Yeah,
or whatever
definitely.
you want to call
A little bit of background about myself real quick.
it. It's like, that sounds like a little bit of me, that does.
A little bit of everyone in that.
Yeah.
We need a level of acceptance.
You need to be then going away from that meditation and going, well, how do I actually create change now?
Feel free, man.
Cool.
Feel free.
Hello. So this is the present and power. The camera skills are coming out now.
Let's go. This is the first episode of the Present and Powerful podcast with me, Daniel Butler, and
Ellis Goldie.
Yes.
Yes.
It's great to be here. It's been quite a long time in the making to get to this point. I'm blessed to be able to do this and to have Ellis on. I think he's a great guy. So we are going to talk about some interesting things today. And we're going to just give a rough outline on the idea behind the podcast, a little bit about our backgrounds, and get into a few small topics about discipline and how we find like balance and purpose, along with being able to overcome some challenges as well. So, yes, Ellis, do you want to start it off?
Yeah, man. So what a spicy intro that was. Absolutely spicy, man. Loving it. I think just talking a bit about myself really would be kind of, something that I think would be important for our viewers to hear, because, we're just two guys who started a podcast, we've just rocked up, we've just shown up, bam.
We have.
So, like, this actually came about from us just speaking, didn't it? I think, what was it, on Instagram? So it was on Instagram, we had a little chat back and forth, I messaged you, and then from there, we've got to know each other on a really good level, and we just thought we can demonstrate value to people and share our own experiences. So just a quick bit on myself before we get into it. Essentially, I've been into, let's just call it self-discovery work, spiritual work for the past few years, really, and I've made a lot of discoveries about myself, in terms of just feeling like I want to learn more about myself, want to discover newer parts, and that's come with being really into physical training, being really into just finding out new ways to get creative, and I won't go too much into it, but yeah, it's just that's how I kind of got into this space of self-development and spirituality, from a place of low confidence and just feeling like I wasn't good enough.
The journey,
and then learning that I am good enough. But yeah,
that's it. It's all that big journey that we're on. Like, it was interesting how we met, because at the time, I wasn't really on the Muay Thai scene or uploading a lot of Muay Thai content. And you kind of dropped me a message, and like when I saw your page, like Ellis Mind Coach, like, oh, Mind Coach, like, like let me check this guy out, and yeah, man, you had some interesting things on there, and I thought like, okay, like we can definitely meet up and have some interesting conversations. So that's what we did, wasn't it? Like a few months later. Just met for coffee, and then I think I said to you like, oh, this could be a podcast. like we could just get a camera here and record these conversations and share them with people, as well as have the conversation with ourselves that we're gonna talk about and share our ideas, and also kind of learn a few things along the way. And why I kind of had that idea was, I want to help people, and I want to share, because if we are growing ourselves in the way that we're doing, right, it's good to be able to share it with other people and give some value, like share the things that you learn, share your knowledge. So that is why I wanted to start this podcast. So that's my whole philosophy of
it was a similar idea. I wanted from both of us. Like I said to you, as soon as you was like podcast, I've been thinking about doing this for months, and then lo and behold, we've managed to get to a point where we've had this in the works for probably about a month and a half actually, and we've slowly got to a point where we've been able to sit down and do it. So yeah, obviously we can get into the theme of it, which essentially was just in terms of like being beneficial to society, being beneficial, and having a life that's full of purpose. So for me, really, I think just starting off with how I would define purpose, for me, the question of my purpose was, well, just asking myself, what is my purpose, and why did I want to create a purpose? And when I really sat down and thought about that pen to paper, it came to a really simple level. It was literally just, my purpose is to undo the mental and social conditioning of the world as much as I can through a couple of modalities, and my modalities are definitely through words, through my dancing, so a lot of the movements that I do, especially when I'm out in public and things like that, sober raves, and really just having that crystal clear purpose that I'm always striving to work for. There's no end goal to it because, you know, the only end time is when I'm dead, really, you know what I mean? So I'll be working with that until I die.
Yeah.
But that is essentially what my purpose is, and I think finding that and having that idea of a purpose gives me something to wake up and go, you know what, I know what I'm doing today, I know what I'm aiming towards, and there's multiple ways to achieve a purpose, and one thing that I used to do was attach it to a career. You know, I'm going to try and build this mind business or build this PT business when I used to be a PT.
Which is great.
Yeah.
You know? Like,
it is great.
It's you know, having your purpose, what I've learned is like, there's not necessarily a right or wrong purpose.
Yeah.
You know, it's different for everyone. Like, your purpose is your purpose, and that's based on you, that's based on your path, your conditioning that you need to untie, right?
Yeah.
And everyone is on their own little purpose, and the key is discovering what works for you, and the key is finding out what you're gonna make of the opportunities you've got, you know, because we all have these opportunities. We all have certain opportunities and certain doors and certain people we know in our life, and it's our duty to use those responsibilities and make the best decisions we can, you know, and we won't always make the right decision, you know. We're human and we're going to make mistakes, so it's one big journey that we're always learning, like you said. A little bit of background about myself real quick. I was born in 1999. I'm 23. I started Muay Thai, which was like, for me, Thai boxing and martial arts is a very big part of my life. It's been a big part of my life since I was 10 years old. It's taught me a lot of lessons, and I've met a lot of great people and learned things about discipline, about having confidence, and about having challenges and what that can give you as a person and as a man, you know, in this modern society, still facing adversity.
Yeah.
So I started when I was 10, and as well as just being a kid, doing whatever I was doing, that was kind of like my kind of direction in my life, as well as like having school and stuff like that. I started competing when I was 13, and then from there, it's just been a matter of the next competition, the next training session, the next run, like the next rest day, you know, and other things that I'm doing in my life. And yeah, along the way I've had some like, I've got into spirituality when I was like 20. I went on a bit of a spiritual journey and wanted to expand my mind in certain ways that I've never really done before, like with meditation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And with what you said about untying your conditioning, I can relate to that as well, and I think that's why we kind of like, we're on the same level in a lot of ways. That's why we can have these conversations, you know, because you can't have certain conversations with certain people who aren't on your level. So that's amazing, man. Yeah, and then from there I've been on a massive journey, and I feel like me being 23, you know, it's like, I feel like I've been alive for so long and had so many experiences, but yeah, this is just the beginning. Yeah. You know, I feel like I've just reached, boom, okay, step one. Step one, discover who I am. You know, step two, okay, now start to do what I'm good at, start to understand everything and you know, live life as best as I can. And yeah, that's kind of my journey, and you know, that's just summed up, but there's so much there. I could talk for hours and hours about it, but it's not.
this is the thing you don't realise, dear, when you actually look at where you've come from and your own background and your own purpose. It's like there's actually a lot of layers to it. You know, especially if you've been into Muay Thai since a young age, and you've spoke to me on a couple of occasions about some of those mini experiences, like being in Thailand and things like that, and fighting at a really good level, meeting loads of people, but then using that pathway to get into spirituality, or whatever you want to call it. And I think that's an awesome path. I think just touching on like kind of my path with the spirituality, the self-discovery stuff, the reason I got into it was like from a different, you know, it was from a different perspective completely. There was actually a point in time where I was with my ex-partner, and I was in Spain. I'm staying in Spain at the time. This was like during second lockdown, which was an amazing time.
Second lockdown, okay.
And there was a point in time where I just realised I had this space from where I was living in the UK for a bit. She was in Spain for a bit. I was in the UK. Plan was to move over. But essentially, went over in second lockdown for a month. And I was like, why am I getting triggered by my partner? Like, I was like, what's going on? And it was small things like her picking at the cleaning, or picking at why have you not done this way, or why have you not done it the way that she thought it should be done. And the way I would react to that would be like almost just horrible amounts of shame, and I'd just tense up, like I'd freeze.
You were noticing that.
Yeah. And then from that moment on, I was already listening to a lot of self-development stuff, already reading some books, listening to The Power Now, that type of thing. So I was in the space. I was like, right, there's a Black Friday sale. I bought this course that was to help me with my own transformation. And that taught me literally how to let go, in a sense, and how to meditate, and how to properly process these feelings that I was feeling around my partner. And then that was kind of my gateway into really just realising that I have a bigger purpose, that I have a bigger journey. That was just the trigger point for me, where I was like, something needs to change here, because I'm not only reacting in this situation in this way to these situations, but I was feeling like that in a lot of situations. And thankfully, having that experience led me on to realising that there was thoughts of, I don't feel good enough because of X, Y, Z. And then that led me on to discovering more work to really help myself feel less pressured, feel less like I need to prove things. So yeah, there's a lot of things, but just slightly different gateways.
You were saying about you can't just be that transcendental being of light all the time.
Yeah, you can't just sit underneath a tree or in your house in a cave and just be like,
I'm at peace.
Yeah, I'm everything.
I'm everything. You know, I'm all these affirmations that I am.
I don't believe you can do that and really tangibly go anywhere. And I think once you're in that meditation, you know, you need to be then going away from that meditation, going, well, how do I actually create change now? You know, what is it that I found in that meditation? It's been really eye-opening for me. And what are the things that I need to do to create change now? You know, what are the actions that need to be done out of this meditation so I can see change? So let's say if someone's struggling with, I'll use myself as an example, when I used to struggle with this, it's, I don't feel good enough because of this thing that happened when I was 5 years old. It's like, okay, well, there's this belief there, I don't feel good enough. Okay, well, why was that there? And we found this in the meditation. I found it in meditation because when I was 5 years old, there was this point in time where I remember being shouted at on a lot of occasions by my mother to say, you're not cleaning the house good enough, you're not doing this good enough.
Right.
And then from that point in that meditation, I was like, well, I can just choose to believe that and be like, oh, I found it out now, cool. But then nothing's really changed because I've just sat there and meditated on it. So the awareness was there. But then it's like, right, well, how do I now look at what I'm aware of and challenge that? The belief there was, I am not good enough. I am inherently wrong. I'm not good enough for anyone. So it was like, well, what would be the opposite of that? I am good enough. I'm great. I'm awesome. I love myself. I'm amazing. And instantly from saying that, I can feel my energy change. And it's like, well, what actions would someone do who loves themselves, who wants to be with themselves, who believes that they are good enough? And then it's taking those actions, but then also aligning your thoughts with those actions, you know, thinking that you're that way, but then also doing that, embodying it, so you become and be that, rather than just...
So you're putting it into practice.
Putting it into practice, yeah.
If you don't practice, you know, if I want to be a good martial artist and I just watch fighting videos all day and think about fighting, but I don't go to the gym and actually spar someone, I'm not, I can only be so good.
Yeah.
You know, and it's the same with your sprinting, like with the exercise you do. If you were, you know, just reading all this theory behind it and philosophizing about these things. No, sometimes you have to, okay, now it's time to crack on.
Yeah.
Now I just need to do it, and less thinking, more doing. Like, just do. That's one of the phrases me and some of my friends like kind of use to kind of not sum up, but talk about all this kind of subject of like spirituality, or like doing all these things, how to do these things, like how purpose, all this. Like, sometimes just do.
Yeah.
Just do without thinking, and there's more. That can be a meditation in itself.
Yeah.
It's not always about sitting cross-legged under a tree.
Yeah.
Like, you can meditate anywhere. Meditation is just a word, but it's deeper than that. We're alive right now. We're conscious. So life can be a meditation, so to speak.
It's a good point, that, man. It's an awesome way of looking at it. Because if you say, life is the meditation, you can then be in that moment rather than like acting and going bam, 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 bam. Like, because we're saying a lot about acting and doing these things and tangibly creating these, these scenarios and realities that we want to have, which is, we maybe want to feel better about ourselves, maybe want to have more confidence,
Which
maybe
we
want
all
to perform
do
better.
People.
We all want to do that on some level, to some extent, because if we're not changing, then we're not going with the flow of life, because life always says to you, you must change, and there's always a challenge. But that could be the meditation in my eyes of life. It's constant change, and it's embracing change. And you can manually go and change things by creating these actions. You can manually change things by creating the thoughts before you go and do the action, which we've talked about meditation being this thing where you sit there and you do nothing, but it's still relevant, because if we're thinking about what we're going to do in that meditation before we do it, on that kind of body cellular level, we're prepping our minds for that action.
Putting yourself in place.
You're putting it in there, you're changing your DNA on that little level before you've even done the thing. It's like envisioning where you're going to be and what you're going to do, having that vision, but then acting out the vision. Yeah. And that to me is like manifestation, if you want to call it that. And I think if you view life as something where you can create, it's a big playing field, and you kind of have free rein to do what most of the things that you want, you can then have the freedom to create what you want. And I think if you get yourself to that state where you realise that I am who I am, this is what I think I want to be, these are my values, these are my understandings of where I would like to go, then understanding that there's things that you must put in place to change that, actually do it, but then be aware that things will change again.
Yeah, it's a constant flux. Like, there's always something that we overlook. It's like we can put ourselves in place to face the things we need to face the challenges, and just the day-to-day things in our life. Interactions and turning up and doing certain things that we need to do. That we might not always want to do. Like, there's always an unknown aspect. There's always an unknown quantity somewhere, and that, to me, how I kind of get around that. And I'll say with sports or running, for example, if I think to myself, okay, I'm going to set myself the challenge to do a 20-mile run, I need to put myself in the right frame of mind, like you said beforehand. I need to visualize certain things, manifest, quote unquote, certain things, and think, okay, I'm going to be confident, I'm going to stay relaxed, I'm going to focus on my technique, I'm going to try and be in the moment when I'm running and not get stressed out, etc. But then halfway through the run, it's going to be different to how I can imagine it.
Yeah.
Halfway through your session, your gym session, your fight, your martial arts session, there's going to be something that you didn't quite think about, and then it's how you react in that moment. And if you're in a better frame of mind generally, then you can respond better, to a challenge that you face, and that to me is like being able to just be there for that experience, like I was saying about how life itself is a meditation. Like, be there for the whole experience. Turn up with certain expectations, as we all do, but also know that there's an unknown quantity, and what will happen, and then what will be in a certain way. We can only do so much, can't we?
Yeah.
Like, you know, certain things will just be as they are, and we need a level of acceptance. You know,
Yeah.
like we need a level of acceptance as well as, no, I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna do everything I can. You know, because if you just have the acceptance, then it's not balanced. You know, but if you just have the, I'm gonna control everything and be the best I can, and like everything I want it to be like this.
Yeah.
It might not quite go that way. So
Yeah.
then you're gonna be at odds with reality a little bit, aren't you? That to me will cause stress or suffering, or like disharmony somewhere. So
It's
yeah.
a brilliant point, that, man. Like, you know, when you said control everything, I'm seeing bits of myself in that, and
Me
you
too,
know,
man.
that resonated. I
Me
was
too.
like, that sounds like a little bit of me. That does.
A little bit of everyone in that.
Yeah.
Me too. Yeah.
But it's the way you brought that together, man. I think that what you said there about envisioning the thing happening and being prepared for it, and like manifesting that mentally, like this is what the outcome that I desire is going to be. Thinking about that, doing it, and then being on that front or in that fight or that sparring session, or even a scenario where you're going into, you know, a workplace and, you know, you're wanting to start working more on a specific task or something like that, and you're procrastinating on it. It's using that visualization element to go, this is how it's going to go, this is what I want it to be. But then it's using that presence element. You're in that moment there and then when you've actually, you know, mentally looked at it in your meditation. Then when you're actually doing the action in the present moment, it's, I've envisioned it to be this way. Oh shit, something's now changed as a curveball in the system. And then if you go into that controlling mindset, which is what we were just talking about, that controlling mindset, I'm going to try and control this to go how it was in my head. It's like, no, because we've acknowledged that life will change anyway, because it does. We can't control life. And that's where I really feel like when you're in that moment, it's having the plan, but then being willing to adapt your actions and change in the moment. But it's being adaptive.
Being adaptable.
It's being adaptive, but then in that moment where it may change, it's can I then let go of that control of what I had in my head before I did the thing, which is something that I work on still, and it's something that I've struggled with a lot. It's like, it's going to go one way and one way only. And I've had that a lot, and I still get it a lot now, but it's like, no, there's multiple ways a scenario can go. But the only time you're ever going to know the way a scenario can go is by doing the thing. And by then doing the thing, you have to adapt on the fly. It's like this podcast, we didn't know. It's just like, we've got a rough structure of what we're going to do. But it's completely changed, and it's like, it doesn't matter. But it's being willing to be, and it comes back to that basic point of everyone says it in like the spiritual spaces, it's presence. It's being there with it when you're there and then changing it. But it's like, we could sit here and go, be present, and then switch off the podcast and, wow, I missed the Eckhart Tolle, but it's there's a lot more that goes into it. There's a lot more.
There's a lot more. Life's never black and white, you know.
Yeah.
Never black and white. Yeah, man. That was awesome. That was a really awesome conversation. Is there anything you wanna add to any of those things?
No, I think honestly, like, we've landed on a good point there, and I think the point that I do want to make for everyone who's watching this is that, you know, we did come into this with a plan. We did actually say this is going to be the way it is, and we was like, we're going to roughly follow this structure, but we've just demonstrated to the people who are watching this that even having that plan, we've adapted on the fly. But because we've been present with our own conversation, we've been present through actually listening to each other, being active, and none of it, just we flowed with it.
Flow with it.
And that's the point I want to make to like anyone who's watching this. It's have the plan, have the mentality, use the meditations to visualize, but then go and act, and then be willing to change. It's like three things: visualize, be willing to act, then change. It's just I don't know, that came out of nowhere, but yeah, nice. That's my closing point anyway.
So my little closing point on this little conversation on our podcast will be, as well as all these topics and like spiritual ideas we're talking about and like stuff like that, it's also very important to just remember that we're here to enjoy our lives, and that is the main thing. You know, we're here to enjoy ourselves. You know, our life is short, our life is temporary, and as well as facing all these challenges and growing in our own personal ways that we are doing, try and enjoy our lives along the way. You know, that's the important thing. And we as human beings, we have a choice, and we can choose to enjoy our life. You know, everything we feel and our enjoyment of our life is down to us. You know, we at the end of the day, we're faced with our own decision, and we have a choice to make, and we can choose to suffer, and we can choose to see things that are not quite right, or we can choose to make a change and learn to enjoy our lives and be positive and help people and be a force for good in the world. So yeah, that's my little point. You know, when we have that little choice every day, we're blessed to be able to make a new choice and make some new changes in our life for the better. So that would be my closing little point.
And with that being said, we're going to close off the Present and Powerful podcast for today. Thank you for listening, and we're grateful for you listening in. So thank you. Have an awesome day.
It's been awesome, guys. Like Ellis said, thank you for tuning in. This has been the first one, so I'm excited for the next one. I'm excited for the next 10 episodes that we're going to do. It's going to be awesome. We're going to talk about loads of cool stuff. This was the first little one we did. It was amazing. I think we smashed it. So yeah, thank you guys, and we will see you in the next episode.
Peace. See you soon.